Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. I'm Cade Kennedy alongside Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray. As always, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below. We always love to hear what you have to say. But, of course, the most important question of the day, fellas, how are y'all doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Nice, not bad, relaxing day. Kind of went by pretty quick, and another night of sports to ruin the sleep schedule.
And solid day, and just day gone by pretty quick. That's all I can say about it.
Yeah, it does feel like one of those kind of days, which, sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes that's a bad thing. Kind of more of a good thing, I would say, today. But it is not a good day for our first story here. The city of Oakland, once again, I feel bad for these fans. I mean, if you're Oakland, you lost the Raiders, you lost the Warriors, and the A's are officially set to go now. The Oakland A's purchasing land near the Las Vegas Strip, and just, I feel so bad for these people. That's really all I can say. At the end of the day, just, there's no reason to do this. I get that everyone wants to go to Vegas now, that it's the big flashy market and the place to do. You see that the Golden Knights did well as an expansion team. You see that the Raiders were able to move out there, but it's sad because Oakland's one of those fan bases that to me has always been, the epitome of loyalty. No matter what happens, they always show up. They're one of those places we don't really think about a whole lot, especially in the state of California. Of course, you have the LA teams and all that jazz, but just the A's being in Vegas, once again, it'll be one of these that just doesn't feel right to say. And Oakland knows it as well. Everyone knows it, but the A's have moved around. This would be a fourth or fifth time now, I believe. They're the most moved around franchise, at least in baseball.
Baseball, yes, they've been in about 3 years. I know they were in Philly, they were in Kansas City. I forget what other city they were also at, but this basically would be their fifth. This would be their fifth move.
I feel bad for them. I mean, it was a move that we're all waiting for. It's been talked about for the last 3 or 4 years. It seems like, and it almost seemed like Oakland themselves as a franchise were trying to force it. Cade, you're right. I mean, it worked for the Knights as an expansion team, and it should have stayed that way for everybody. If a sport was going to add a team in Vegas, it should have always been through an expansion team. Teams shouldn't have moved there like we've seen with these last two and the Raiders and now the A's. I was disappointed, obviously, one, as a baseball fan with, just Oakland, but two, the way they went about it. I mean, you're going to move a franchise and you can't just own up to it in like a normal way in terms of a midday press conference like 99% of the teams would have done. Instead, you're dropping the news at 1 in the morning. In our time, I get it in Oakland, they're 2 hours, but still it's 11 at night in Oakland. Like, you can't at least drop the news at a reasonable time. You try to hide it overnight. Like, that's what I'm laughing about. I'm getting ready to go to bed. It's 1 o'clock after watching the NBA and NHL playoffs, and you get the alert on your phone. The A's purchased the land in Vegas, and it's like at least go about it in a professional way. Like, you're taking, as you said, Cade, a third team away from the city. Like, do it professionally. Don't do it in a way you try to hide it.
Yeah, again, all of us are kind of feeling for people of Oakland who have supported the Athletics, the Warriors, and Raiders, and just see all those teams now and seeing your baseball team just be that last thing. Now there's really nothing for Oakland really to work with now. It's really sad to see for them. I really can't add much to it. Oh, and it's actually their fourth move because they went from Kansas City to Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that there's not a whole lot to say other than it just doesn't feel right. And I mean, I'm sure that's how the people of Oakland feel. I'm sure that's how most baseball fans feel. Sure, if you're a Vegas person, you're happy to see it. You always love more stuff coming into town. But other than that, like you said, Andrew, I think you made the best point. If you're going to go to Vegas, I understand the move, but make it an expansion team. There's no reason to move someone else there and take away their fan base they've already established for decades at this point. But that will move us on into the NBA coverage that we've had here. And, folks, there's been a lot that has happened the past few days. Kind of looking at what's been going on Tuesday and Wednesday's games. Some of them we talked about a little bit before we went off the air. Boston beating Atlanta 119-106. and Cleveland smacking around New York 107-90. And to round out the day, Phoenix getting a 123-109 win over the Clippers. So congratulations us. We all went 3-0 on the day. Woohoo.
Go ahead.
I thought first starting with the Celtics game, I think that's what we expected, kind of them to just control the whole game. I think they were already up by 10 points by the time we got off the show. Cleveland, I think that was the most surprising game of the night because they controlled that game from top to bottom. I never saw that coming. Not more surprised that the Cavs won, but just, again, the way they did it. As you said, Cade, we all did pick the Cavs to win that one. But and I get the Suns ended up winning by double digits, but that was closer than the score shows for the majority of that game. So that was overall, again, a fun game. We see that series even up, just like the Cavs did. And it sets up a fun trip back throughout the rest of the series because these two teams do, at least two of these three series from Tuesday are tied 1-1.
Also, some news, Kawhi will not be playing for Game 3. He was playing through an injury in Game 2 on his right knee, and it has nothing to do with it's nothing related to his ACL tear he had prior, so hopefully he can be back after Game 3, but without Kawhi for Game 3, that's going to be an entirely different story when we finally talk about that game, but start with, agree, Boston figured that one was going to go that way. Obviously, also surprised Cleveland just dominated. I will say I was actually correct on how Suns would have a good chance of winning their game is if all their starters played very well. Obviously, Game 1, most of them, except for Chris Paul, didn't play well, but Chris played much better. He had 16. And I also predicted Russell would actually shoot a lot better than he did in Game 1, where he only had 9. He ended up having 28.
It's tough to shoot worse.
Yeah, so
that is true.
That's true.
Hard to go worse than 3 for 19.
But he did. So I was correct on that. He would play a lot better. I just didn't expect him to almost get 30. But sadly, that the rest of the guys on the team just not enough to help them out. Definitely, they're really missing Paul George for the most part. But series still not over. It's 1-1 going back to LA, and anything can happen from there.
And that gives us to the Wednesday games. The Lakers taking on the Grizzlies. Memphis getting a 103-93 win there. No Ja, no problem for the Grizzlies. And then Milwaukee, they wanted revenge. I think we all predicted that would be probably what would happen in it. And, the Bucks dropping a casual 81 points in the first half. No problem there. 136-122 win for Milwaukee. And then Minnesota put up a better fight, but still lost to the Nuggets. 122-113.
Yeah, I think starting with the Memphis game, they came out fast in that game, got off to a good start. I think it was Russell, got him in foul trouble early, and the Lakers clearly missed him for a little bit before that game kept going. Memphis, look, they got scared for a little bit when Jackson goes back to the locker room real fast, but he comes back. And does just fine throughout this game and controls everything down low throughout this game. But obviously, you have all the Dylan Brooks stuff after the game, talking a bunch of trash on LeBron. Obviously, that makes this series, obviously, with there already being 1-1, intriguing. But now Brooks continuing to talk trash. It'll be interesting to see the response from this Lakers team, but especially LeBron. He's pretty used to it by now and can shove it off and forget about it. Bucks, not much to talk about in that one. You want to say, if anything, the defense from the Bucks might be concerning, but it's tough to judge when you go up by 30 points. You kind of expect them to give back a lot there. So I think the 122 number there from the Heat was kind of just skewed a little bit. But, credit to the Bucks. Bouncing back without Giannis there. And that Denver game was fun for a little bit in that second half. It looked like they were going to blow them out for a while. I honestly turned it off for a little bit. Put on the NHL playoffs for a while there, and then Minnesota stormed back and made it a great second half. And, man, I don't know if you guys watched it, but Jamal Murray versus Anthony Edwards, those two just going back and forth in the fourth quarter was so much fun to watch.
It absolutely was. And then looking at Thursday's games, we've already made our predictions for them. We did that on the last episode. Of course, though, I think we would probably agree with what we still had of the Philly-Brooklyn game and Sacramento-Golden State. But with Kawhi being out for Game 3, does that change your opinion at all? I mean, that's a pretty significant deal.
I think I picked the Clippers on Tuesday, if I remember correctly.
I think so.
It absolutely does. I mean, no Paul George and no Kawhi Leonard. If you had George, I'd probably keep my pick. But, I mean, you're missing your best two players. And, I mean, I have to go Suns now. I mean, it's pretty tough not to pick the Suns at this point. So I'll go Sixers, Warriors, and Suns tonight.
Basically, yeah, I'm Sixers and Golden State, and I'm going to pick Suns because unless the backups and the other guy and Russell just somehow goes God mode, which it's been like years since he's ever done anything like that. There's just no way the Clippers without Kawhi are going to be able to keep it competitive unless Booker and Paul or Durant decide I forget how to shoot for a night. That's the only way they have a shot at winning is if two of their star shooters for the Suns just forget how to shoot.
I will say since the last show, because all three of us were reading that nobody was going to get suspended. Draymond Green did get suspended, so he will not be playing tonight. But, I think at this point, I don't think the Warriors will miss him too much. Maybe his defense a little bit, but I think their offense back home is going to just be way too much, or not way, but be too much for the Kings tonight and win a close game.
I think his ability to help get throw to open guys and his defense definitely will be missed to an extent, but I don't think they'll prevent Golden State from taking the win tonight.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's one of those keep the top two picks we had and then switch the Clippers to the Suns there. I mean, unless the Clippers literally do the improbable and are able to win without Kawhi and Paul George on the court, which would take, like you mentioned, Connor, probably a return of MVP Westbrook. I would have to imagine that would happen. And I don't know, maybe Zubats finally decides to drop a 30-20 game or something like that. That's about the only way I can see the Clippers finding any way to hold on there. But that will bring us to Friday's games, if I did this correctly. I think I did this correctly. Let's see. I did do this correctly. Wow.
Yeah, you got to have faith in yourself. Come on.
I did have faith in myself, but ESPN's website was being a little buggy, but it doesn't matter anyways because Game 3, Boston and Atlanta going back down to Atlanta, but does not matter spread-wise. Boston's still 5-point favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think it's funny, real quick, just obviously being a Sixers fan and looking closely at that series, it seems like they value the Sixers and Celtics pretty similar. I mean, same thing with the Sixers. They go on the road today, and they're 5-point favorites. So it seems like they kind of value both series as pretty similar to each other, which is a little odd to me. Just you don't see that too often. But in this Game 3, I got to take the Celtics. I guess it's going back to Atlanta. We've seen Trae Young do things in playoff games along with Clint Capella. We've seen them go to the Eastern Conference Finals. But I have to go with the Celtics team that's playing a lot better than they were playing down the stretch of the regular season. And Jason Tatum, Brown, and Smart just continue to dominate the series.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. There's just basically it would take a bunch of scoring efforts from Capella, Young, and many of the other guys from Atlanta to keep up with Boston, and just Boston defensively it's just been too much overall throughout the last two games, and Boston just dominating. Yeah, I expect Boston to go up 3-0.
That's where I'm at. I think the Celtics are able to win again here. Maybe we'll see what Atlanta can do in Game 4, but I think the Celtics take Game 3.
I think depending on how Game 3 goes, will be a deciding factor how we'll view Game 4.
Yeah. And that brings us to the Friday night ABC game. How about that? A Friday night ABC game for once. Cleveland taking on New York. Knicks back at home, 1.5-point favorites there in a 1-1 series.
Yeah, I think you're coming off a loss. You're going back home in the Garden. I mean, fans are going to be excited because the first time in a while you actually have a real shot to, do some damage in the playoffs. And I have to go with the Knicks here going back home. Give me Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle getting the job done. I think their duo there offensively and defensively will do well. Garland dropped 32 in the last game. I think they'll focus on him a little bit more defensively and be able to slow him down a little bit more than they did in the previous game and find a way to win a close game.
Yeah, I think the environment of just being in the Garden will help, especially with that crowd behind the Knicks, will definitely be a huge factor for this game. picking Knicks to go up 2-1.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Knicks being at home, you have that environment, always going to be a raucous crowd there. I think that helps propel them. And Jalen Brunson, probably going to make some clutch plays. That's what he does late in the game, and the Knicks get the win there. But that takes us to our other games we've got, kind of continuing to march along with Friday's games. Denver going to Minnesota. I'm sure Minnesota fans still love getting that 8:30 at night game because Minnesota's a West Coast team apparently now for some reason. But either way, Denver 2.5-point favorites in Game 3.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's only 2.5 points. But I think this game is almost the opposite of what we saw last night. I think Minnesota going back home gets off to a great start, plays phenomenal in the first half, and then you see the Nuggets take control of the game in the second half, end up winning, going up 3-0 in the series, and getting the job done. So I think it's a little bit reversed from the previous game, but either way, Nuggets get the job done on the road.
I think Minnesota will obviously get a jolt of energy from being to play in front of their home crowd, but Denver, the way they've played, especially Jamal Murray's just been balling very well these last two games. I mean, when you're not having to always rely on Jokic to help score points and do almost everything else, that helps out a lot. That really helps Denver out a whole lot. Even in a close game, having Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., that definitely helps out a whole lot. And Aaron Gordon also being valuable for them. I agree. I think Minnesota will have a solid first half, but Denver will take over and win game 3.
This is one of those that I could see it going either way. I mean, Minnesota at home, you have that atmosphere. We've talked about that already on the show. That does play a factor, especially we've seen it with Minnesota before. They're still a young team. They're still an energetic team, of course. And when you have that atmosphere behind you, there's something that, that kind of next gear gets unlocked. And like you've both mentioned, Minnesota's going to come out. They're going to play fast and loose, and they're going to have some fun with it. But like we've also talked about, just because you're a fun team doesn't mean you're going to be the winning team at the end of the day. I think the Nuggets will have to make a late rally, come back. Maybe this one goes to overtime. Who knows? But I think Denver eventually pulls it out. And then moving on to the Saturday games, Philadelphia and Brooklyn Game 4. Obviously getting into a bit of uncharted territory here. We don't know what's going to happen in Game 3, so it seems a little weird to make predictions on Game 4, but it's what we do on this show. We make predictions that far in advance because, well, we want to. That's why. But Philly-Brooklyn Game 4, we all think the Sixers are going to win Game 3. Can they get a potential sweep?
Yes, Sixers get the sweep. I think there's too much. I mean, I like Bridges, but outside of that, I really just don't think the Nets have too much to defend the Sixers, stop them offensively, and Sixers have a lot to stop them on the offensive side.
Yeah, there's nothing much to say. It's like Brooklyn will put up as best of a fight they can, but Sixers are just too much. Going to be way too much for them. They get the sweep.
Are you telling me Spencer Dinwiddie is not going to lead this team to victory?
Correct.
Because I had to sit with that half this season. But yes, I agree
Spencer
with you.
Dinwiddie is not on my scare.
Yeah, I know. He was on me half the time, but for the wrong reasons, let's say. But yeah, I mean, when some of your better players are Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, winning a playoff game against the Sixers would be an accomplishment in and of itself. I don't think that happens. I think Philly gets the sweep there. And then Suns and Clippers Game 4. We've all flipped our pick over to Phoenix for that one. Obviously, not to get too speculative. Of course, Paul George not going to be in that game. We have no idea what the Kawhi Leonard situation is going to be. So I would not be surprised if this is kind of one of those either-or type of games to go with, but still intriguing to think about.
Yeah, I think I gotta go Suns, to be honest, regardless at this point. If things go as expected tonight, I think it's going to be tough for the Clippers to bounce back on. You fall down 2-1 at your place. Obviously, Kawhi's not right, so he's going to be coming off the no game and then possibly not being – he won't be fully healthy. So I think that's going to slow him down a little bit. I think Kevin Durant, Ayton, and all them are just going to be too much for this Clippers team.
Yeah, since I believe Suns will take it, and if more likely they will, I'm going to pick Suns because you don't know if Kawhi will still remain out for Game 4. Even then, I think even if he comes back, it's not going to help them because the Suns are going to be riding on too much momentum.
Well, I'm going to do the either-or thing then. I'm going to say if Kawhi comes back and he's healthy, however percent healthy he is, if he does play, I think the Clippers can even the series up. They'll have a little bit of confidence. They'll have that energy boost back knowing, okay, one of the best players in the NBA is here on our team again. It's time to try to lock some people down. And, if Westbrook can continue to play well like he has been, I think they can tie this thing back up at 2-2. Obviously, though, if Kawhi doesn't play, you're getting in a 3-1 hole and you're in a whole different world of hurt. The next one, Bucks and Heat, Game 3 in Miami. The Heat trying to take a 2-1 lead, but the Bucks are 5.5-point favorites in this one.
Hey, you saw without Tyler Hero, this Heat team really struggled to share the ball, to control possessions, and I think you're going to see a lot of the same there. I think the Bucks defense from Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, playing against a lot of those guards, it proved to just be too much, and I think you're going to see that here. And if I'm the Bucks, honestly, I think you can take the risk of resting Giannis another game. I don't think he should play. I think they should take that chance, and I think you'll see a lot of the same as you did see there last night, and I fully expect the Bucks to go up in the series here 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, anything was indicator with I think Milwaukee can easily still win without Giannis. I think if Giannis was playing in Game 2, that game probably would have been much worse than what it could have been. But I still expect Giannis to be able to be around for Game 3, and I'll pretty much be a butt kicking for the most part. I think Milwaukee will take Game 3 to go up 2-1.
Yeah, I think Milwaukee, even though Giannis, he's listed as doubtful, so, once again, maybe, maybe not. That's what doubtful means. But in the NBA, doubtful means 50-50. Just unless they're literally in a boot or something like that, you can just assume anything's 50-50 there. But I think there's still too much talent on this Bucks team. We already mentioned Drew Holiday and his defensive presence, Chris Middleton, what he's able to do, Brook Lopez being Brook Lopez, dropping 25 in the last game, always able to contribute as well. I think Milwaukee goes on the road and they take that 2-1 advantage and maybe just keep resting Giannis if the team keeps playing well without him and get him as healthy as possible.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, anything's indicating of what happened last night, you probably just go ahead and rest him and just see how the series plays out.
And then the next one here, the late night Saturday night game, the Grizzlies going to the not Staples Center. I just had to make the callback to last episode when we joked about that. It's Crypto.com Arena.
Staples.
It's Staples.
Horrible name.
Staples
Center, always.
I'll always call it
Lakers
Staples Center.
are 4.5-point favorites at home in a 1-1 series.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take the Lakers here. You're going back home. You missed the playoffs last year. This team's gonna be excited. You got LeBron and Anthony Davis out there. Obviously, we already mentioned the Brooks stuff. I think LeBron goes off in this game. I don't know if he quite hits the 40 mark that he needs to get for Brooks to have his respect, but I think he goes for at least 30-plus and gets pretty close to a triple-double, and he really shows out in this game. And Lakers get the job done and go up 2-1.
LeBron could drop 60 on him, and Brooks would still not respect him at all.
Well, his quote was 40. If you get 40, that's where your respect should.
Okay, here's the thing, though, now. I want to see the scenario where LeBron drops 39 and, hits a buzzer beater over Brooks but only scores 39. What happens?
He doesn't have respect.
He doesn't have respect. I will say, I'll give credit to Dylan Brooks. The confidence you have to say you don't respect LeBron James in a series against LeBron James where you might be guarding him, that might be one of the most, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what the best word is that I could say on a family-friendly show here to describe that. But the intensity, I guess, the brave, bold statement you want to put out there that you're not afraid of LeBron, which I get that he's in there. He's up there age-wise, but still, we all know what LeBron James could do and what he's capable of. The Lakers are at home. All they need is 2 or 3 guys to play well. That's what we've seen the entire series so far. If you get LeBron going, you get Anthony Davis going, and you get literally any other player going, which we've already seen in this series, maybe D'Angelo Russell finally shows up, and maybe he doesn't, but I think the Lakers still get the win here to go up 2-1.
Yeah, I think Lakers will take Game 3. You get a beat. I think LeBron has a beast of a game. I'd say probably drops about 36 points, give or take on that one. And I think it's just going to be too much for Memphis to handle. I think Lakers find a way to get it done.
That will move us on to the next one here, Game 4, with Cleveland taking on New York. Obviously, there's not going to be a spread here or anything, but I got to say, the Knicks getting their love when it comes to television coverage, getting another ABC game. What a surprise there. You know, the New York market, they love basketball. You got to give them what they want. They get a Sunday ABC game in what should be a fun one. I think we all agreed on the Knicks winning Game 3. How does Game 4 fare?
It's going to be a close game, I think. It's going to be a battle back and forth. I think this is going to be the Donovan Mitchell game. I think he goes off, gets Cleveland Cavaliers the win, ties the series up, going back home to Cleveland. But, again, I think nothing against the Knicks. I think this is just the way the series is going to go back and forth throughout. I think that's why it's so important to get Game 1 if you were the Knicks, because now you can afford kind of that every other game type style. So I think, I'm going to go Cleveland Cavaliers here, even things up. On the road, thanks to a big game from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, I'm gonna go the opposite. I think again it's gonna be a close one, but I think Knicks will find a way to take Game 4 and go up 3-1 in the series.
I don't. This is one of those that'll be tricky, especially if New York does win Game 3, because I could see the Knicks having that momentum there. But we already saw what happened one time when they had a bit of momentum in this series. They got absolutely crushed in the next game. I did say when we started our predictions that this would probably be the 7-game series in the East. I'm going to hold with that still. I think Cleveland wins to tie it back up 2-2. And then Game 4 of Kings and Warriors. Again, we're not going to have a spread here because Game 3 hasn't happened yet. But Golden State, if they can pull out the win like we all think they're going to do, it will be a bit more of a fun, competitive series, even more competitive than it already is. But should be a fun one, of course, nonetheless.
Yeah, I think Warriors continue to get the job done. You'll get Draymond Green back. I think, obviously, he'll play angry from what happened from last game. So, believe it or not, I think he does have a pretty good game in this one. And I think they get the job done, tie the series up. I think this is going to be one of those series you kind of always get the home team might keep taking each game there, going in and eventually maybe get to a Game 7. So I'm going to get the Warriors to sweep their 2 games at home, even the series up, and go back to Sacramento and see what happens.
Yeah, I still think they'll take Game 3. With having Draymond back, that'll definitely be a much big boost for Golden State. And I think crowd will be just as much into as they're going to be in for Game 3. I think Golden State will tie the series up. Like you said, it's probably going to be a home thing where they're each going to keep trading. It'll come down to Game 7.
Yeah, home Warriors are not a force to be messed with. I think Golden State gets the win here, ties everything back up 2-2.
I will say, interesting, I did see somewhere, I think Sacramento has the best road record and winning percentage this season. So that's something to...
So we truly get the 2 best teams. We get home Warriors versus road Kings.
Exactly.
Truly a great battle there for these two. But then Game 4, Boston at Atlanta, and we all agree the Celtics will probably be up 3-0 by the time it gets here. Will Boston be able to sweep it and finish it off?
They will not be able to. This is going to be the Trae Young game. I believe he can get you one game. You kind of see teams slack off a little bit. Sometimes, when you go up 3-0, knowing you're going back home, you can finish it off back there. I think this is one of those games Trae Young just goes off, drops whatever he needs to, and they find a way to take this one and lengthen the series.
Yeah, for this one, I think I said it on Tuesday. I think Game 4 would be probably be the Trae Young game, regardless of how the outcome of Game 3 is. I think Trae will have it. This will be the big game he has, but I think all it will do is prolong the series before they get put out of their misery.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a gentleman's sweep here when we kind of look at it. You get that 3-0. You'll let the home team have their one win in Game 4. You kind of not slack off, but you're not playing 100% out there knowing the series is almost won. Atlanta's able to steal a game, and then you get back to Game 5 up in Boston, and it becomes a whole different story there. And then the final game to talk about, Game 4 of the series between the Nuggets and the Timberwolves. Obviously, once again, not going to have a spread for, the exact same reason I mentioned the past few times I've said we won't have a spread. Denver, Minnesota, I think we all agree Nuggets will probably be up 3-0 here. Can they get the sweep over Minnesota?
No, I'm going Minnesota. I think you see how the respect that they're getting from a lot of people with how close that Game 3 spread is going back to Minnesota. I think this is the one where you make some adjustments. You battle through another close game in Game 3, and you find a way to get one here in Game 4. I think Anthony Edwards is able to get the job done. Rudy Gobert is able to play well and also help get that win. So I'm going to say Minnesota is able to get one win too.
Yeah, I think this will probably be a gentleman's sweep before they go back to Denver. Obviously, I believe they'll take 3, and then Minnesota will get the victory they need at home, but it won't be enough when they go back to Denver.
Yeah, I think it'll be similar to Boston and Atlanta. Minnesota will get their one last hurrah at home before having to go back to Denver and having their season come to an end. But that will do it for another episode of The Guys Who Stare at Stats. As always, we thank you for watching and tuning in either on twitch.tv/NWTV7. Feel free to give us a follow there to always be notified when we go live, or subscribing to our channel, The Guys Who Stare at Stats, liking the video, and leaving a comment down below. For Andrew Santangelo and Connor Gray, I'm Cade Kennedy, and folks, enjoy the rest of the NBA playoffs, and have a good night, everybody.